Terrorism knows no religion. Terrorism does not need profiling. We all need to unite for us to be able to effectively defeat the ideologies of these particular groups. Good afternoon. It is 9th of July 2020. We are live again. Today we are discussing matters prevention of violent extremism. It is a session that will run up to until around 2:40 p.m. And we have exciting conversations lined up. We have very good guests with us today. We have young people who have experienced it all to the point of almost crossing the border and becoming violent extremists. We have individuals who are doing a lot of work to be able to prevent violent extremism. A lot of initiatives, a lot of strategies being put in place to be able to just ensure that our young people are secure, and basically we're increasing resilience to violent extremism. And then, to sum it all, we are asking ourselves, if we are to win this particular war, what enabling environment is it that we need to put in place for us to ensure that the different agencies, the different actors are all playing together, young people are enabled enough for us to be able to have all the security agents, all the partners playing one thing to be able to ensure that we are defeating this. So we'll be having all those conversations. Remember, our engagement is through the social media platform. Get to our live Facebook page, key in some comments, put in some questions there. We'll be coming to you with just interacting with you. And remember, today we are basically focusing on understanding what is violent extremism, what are the key drivers to violent extremism, what are the early warnings to violent extremism, what are some of the effective PVE strategies, and finally talking about the safest reporting mechanisms that you, as Shujaz, as young people out there, need to understand and know for us to be able to ensure that we are working together in this. So to start us off, I want to move to the first interview and the interview room. So let me take you to interview room 1, where we have our host, our moderator, our engineer Mike Mutungi, together with young people, and he will be introducing them and continue the conversation. So back or over to you, engineer Mike, for conversation with the young people. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Gibson, and good afternoon, Shujaz. I hope you've had lunch and you can be able to enjoy this afternoon with us. This discussion we're having about safety and security this afternoon, and many times, most of us, that sounds to be a very far and distant issue. But for me, the first time this happened was that we used to have a shop in Westgate Mall with my family, and my wife used to work often from there. Then one afternoon, I got a call from her, and she said, I think there's an attack in the mall. And what really shocked me and terrified me was that my whole family was actually in the mall. So when the terrorists attacked Westgate Mall, my whole family was there, my wife and all my kids. They were later rescued at 5 p.m. And I can tell you, those 5 hours were the longest 5 hours of my life. And so oftentimes, we think this is very distant until something happens. And so today, we have 2 guests that will be helping us to understand what is PVE, but also share their own personal experiences. So let me turn over to Amina and Ali and have them introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about who they are. So maybe we can start with you, Amina. Who is Amina?
Good afternoon, all. Amina is a young girl from Kamukunji community, a victim of VE, directly and indirectly. Directly means I was affected through my family, my close relatives, of which it started when I was at a tender age. I knew nothing about VE and all that. It was new to me. I never knew what it was until the people around me, the community around me, the society around me, they were pointing fingers at me, suffering the fate of my people, knew nothing. So here I was, I knew nothing. So when you go out, people are rejecting you, no one wants to socialize with you at that tender age. So it was trauma to me. I had no friends and all that. So who was the closest person to me? My mom. My mom and my other siblings, they were my friends and they were the people who kept me moving. Yes.
Yes, so it sounds like you are victimized and there was stigma by the community as a result of that.
Yes.
Would you care to share just a little bit what happened to that led to that?
The thing that led to that, some of my relatives were involved with all that. So the other people, I'm suffering because of them.
Yes.
I'm not part of them,
Yes.
but I'm suffering what these people are doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are people around you who were somehow, as a result of whether true or false, ended up impacting your own family. But then the community assumed that somehow you were somehow involved in that, and then began stigmatizing you, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. What about Ali? Just tell us about Ali. Who is Ali? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, my name is Mohammed Hassan Ali. I'm a youth leader from Kibra. I do small business, and I'm also a family man. Okay, issue relating to violent extremists. There was one day that I was arrested in Wajir. And that really affected my family.
So when you were arrested, so what happened?
I will not indulge on that so much.
Yes.
Because it is a matter before the court of law.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. But so what was the experience like? What exactly, what is it that now has affected you as a result of that incident?
Okay, you know, as I've said, I'm a youth leader in Kibra. And I used to be in a lot of WhatsApp group. When I was bailed out from the prison, I was removed from all the WhatsApp group. My children, they were told that your father is Al-Shabaab. Even my friends start avoiding me. They say the small wealth that I have built, it was from terrorism.
Yes. Okay. So you're also stigmatized as a result of that. And yet, I think we know that when people get arrested and they're put in prison, just from our different data, that also becomes an opportunity for them to be radicalized as well, because the people who are wanting to radicalize individuals know that prisons or remand are potential places for those people are vulnerable, isn't it? Maybe you can just share a little bit about
that is true, because when I was after coming from the court, the inmates in the cell in the prison, they received me as a hero. And I had a lot of challenges because some element of radicalization in the prison. Like they say, this case of yours, you won't succeed.
Yes.
You are going to be hung. You are going to be jailed for life. Your bail is so much. 500,000. We can organize for you 500,000.
Yes.
Then because we know where you come from.
Yes.
We'll give you a task. Maybe when you go out of the prison, you go and recruit at least 50 youths.
Yes.
And when you recruit those 50 youths, we will give you command over them.
Wow. I mean, that's very tempting for any young person. I mean, somebody offering you 500,000 shillings, and then it's like a job. 500,000 shillings, and then they're giving you a clear tasks. So they would want, so they give 500,000 shillings, then the task is what? To recruit 15 other young people?
Actually, the money, first of all, the 500, the first batch of the 500 was for the bail. Bail was 500.
Okay.
Then after that 500, I recruit 50 youths, then I become their commander.
Yes. Wow. Okay.
With pay. Because I was a bit, the situation was very new to me. I've never been in prison. That was my first time. So they used to feed a lot of things to me.
Okay.
Now you see, your wife will get married, you will rot here in prison. So we want to help you. But we want to help you under one condition.
Okay.
You don't worry about your family. We'll make sure you go with your family.
Thank you, Ali, we thank God for you because you're able to resist that temptation because I'm sure there are very many people who are succumbed to the temptation. Maybe a last question to Amina. So what, just looking at the stigma that happens, what is it would you like to tell other young persons in terms of making sure they don't get involved in radicalization? And also, what would you like to tell the authorities?
My message to the youths out there, the decision one decides to make, you have to think before making the decision. If I do this, how will it affect me? How will it affect the people around me, and my family, and how will it affect the society?
Yes.
Since you are not the only one who you're not in this world alone. You have other people.
Yes.
And my message to the authority,
Yeah.
the relationship between the government and the youth, there are two different things. Once what the mindset in the youth, the mindset the youths have, it's totally different from what the police think. In the ghettos, you find the youths are sitting, chatting and doing all that. But once they see a police vehicle or a police walking, they start running.
Okay.
You ask yourself, why are they running? That, and their action triggers the police. That's when the police will start knowing these people, they were doing something bad because of their action.
Yes.
So you have to think. Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I guess what you're saying is that, one, the young persons also need to be aware that some of the action they may take.
Yes.
They may communicate to the policeman the wrong message.
Yes.
But also the policemen also to be aware that sometimes the young people are just running because they're afraid of the police.
Yes.
So what you need is a better dialogue and relationship between the youth and the security agencies.
Yes.
Yeah, and you know, and for Ali, I think the message there is that for young persons, at the end of the day, you may find yourself in such a vulnerable position where you're being offered a job, you're being offered money, but then at the end of the day, it's your values that will help you to protect you from being radicalized. And it's good to see people, young people like you guys, who are really at the forefront now, are able to flag and whistleblow what's going on, and then also begin engaging youth in terms of turning this around. So for Shujaz, I would just like to tell you that there's young persons here who are doing amazing things as far as radicalization is concerned, and we thank them for coming to really shed a bit more light as far as this issue is concerned. So with that, I would just like to hand over to Gibson again for us to talk about what questions you have and what sort of discussion point we can have on this issue. Thank you.
Oh, great, great. Interesting conversation right there, Mike. Two young people just talking about their experience. And it's quite interesting at the same time, just touching to hear the story of Amina, who actually resonates quite well with even the story that we have under in the What short film. The bitterness of some of what is perceived to be injustices done to the family and driving individuals to that. And then of course we have gotten to understand some of the hot spots, some of the recruitment grounds that we have. But quickly, let me just look at the social pages and see what individuals are saying. A number of comments coming in, fast and furious, different individuals. There is Roland Kirui saying, is radicalization based on ideologies? Where the question is radicalization based on ideologies? Where are people forced to join? That's more of a question. And then of course comments coming here, a number of people I can see. There's Kiptaru saying watching. There is Irene Toto saying we are together. I can see there's Joseph Lee, Wasingishu is locked. Amina Guyo, Mombasa, Timeru. And then there's also watching from Kirengate. I can see Roland saying Team Laikipe is locked. Thank you so much. Let me read another comment or question here. There is a comment from Noah K saying, violent extremism is a form of violence associated with ideological indifferences, such as religion, economic status, etc. And of course, you're saying that you're watching with a number of your Shujaz. There's Mutuku, Esther, Kadeu, Peter, Lilian, Mutue, and the rest. Thank you so much for that. There's also Team Turkana that is locked. Thank you so much for that. Let me see whether there's another question here that you can pick. There is Zibito Zibinare saying saying extremism as a form of violence that condones and enacts violence between people. That's very true, and thank you so much for that. Let me see another one that I can be able to quickly pick here. There's Faria Abdi saying, thank you, thanks to you, Amina and Ali, for sharing your experiences. I agree, thank you so much for that. You know, they usually say example is the only way of actually learning. And so when we have such real human stories about experiences that I've gone through, that really helps a lot. And then there's Amos Mutetin saying VE is a form of violence based on certain beliefs, such as religious, political, economic, etc. Thank you so much for that. Let me look at maybe the next two, and then drop in another question. There's Romeo Romy. VE is violent extremism. Is a form of extremism that condones and enacts violence. Thank you so much for that. And finally, let me see, there is Honorable Mutua saying, my friend is a direct victim from Garissa University tragedy. From those memories, he is scared of anything that bangs. Oh my goodness. And we agree. We'll be talking about the issue to do with trauma, how to deal with trauma. There's someone who actually has been in the midst of an attack. We will be sharing that in a bit. But before then, let me throw in another question. So what are the drivers? What are the drivers to violent extremism? What are the key drivers to violent extremism? Now, that question, please, throw in your question, throw in your comment there. If you have a question to the panelists, keep them coming. I'll be coming back to look at that. And now I want to go to the next interview where there are individuals who have also gone through this experience the same. And there's someone who will also be handling the bit of trauma and how to deal with that. Thank you so much. Keep the questions coming. Let me take you back to the interviewing room where Engineer Mutungi is, and of course with the second pair of guests. So over to you, Mike.
Thank you, Gibson. So that's really good. And we're excited again to be here. And now we have two other guests. You've got Sherin. For you, Shujaz, I think you're very familiar with Sherin. She's a Master SEAL from Nairobi. And then we've got Clive, who is from Kamukunji. They will be introducing themselves. So, Sherin, please just introduce yourself.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sherin Aching. I'm the Master SEAL, Nairobi County.
Master SEAL, Nairobi County.
Yes.
Karibu sana, Sherin.
Asante sana.
Okay, Clive, let's go over to you.
Yeah, hello everybody. My name is Clive Wangudi, and I'm a resident of Kamkunji, Isili. And I'm a community leader who works in this preventing violent extremism space. Yes.
Fantastic. So thank you so much, Sherin and Clive. So the purpose for this segment is to really empower you as a Shuja so that you can be able to engage in prevention of violent extremism. And to do that, the first segment looked at some people who've had experience on violent extremism. Now we have individuals who are involved in prevention of violent extremism. And let me begin by sharing. You are Master SEAL.
Yes.
So as a young person, why are you actually involved in prevention of violent extremism?
So the reason why I'm involved greatly in prevention of violent extremism is that one of the predisposing factors that exposes young people to radicalization is actually lack of information. And this is backed by a baseline survey that we did. And out of the survey, it was indicated that 78.9% of young people have never gone through the violent extremism training. And so that is why I, as an individual, I purpose to give the young people information on violent extremism so that they can be aware and so that they can know what is this thing called violent extremism.
Fantastic.
Yes.
And you know, when that happens, youth actually end up being they're affected. If you think about the university, the Garissa University, it was actually the young people.
The young people.
And you find an attack, and the question becomes, how do I respond? What are the warning signs?
Exactly.
How can I identify this?
Yes.
And you know, as I said before, I've gone through that myself when my family was caught up in Westgate. And when it happens, it's just seconds, and you just don't know what to do. So you're right, you can't afford to have so many young people being ignorant on this issue. Clive, you know, you have experienced violent extremism firsthand. Tell us a little bit about that experience. What happened?
It was in 2012, the 20th of 2012 actually. I was working with the MP for Kamkunji, Yusuf Hassan Abdi, and we were on the campaign trail. So in the evening, we wanted to rest and have something to eat. But somebody came and told the MP that he had organized a session for him to speak with faithfuls in a nearby mosque called Hidayah in Isili. So when the MP went to the mosque, he stayed a little bit longer than we expected. So I followed up. I went up to that place, which was a walking distance from where we were. And when the MP came out of the mosque, he was surrounded by many young people requesting assistance with their ID registration. So as we were talking to the young people, I decided to move a bit away from where the MP was. And that is the moment the improvised explosive device exploded.
Oh, goodness.
And it was horrible. I could see bodies of children flying in the air. There were several explosions actually, and I saw red, blue, and white light, and then darkness and deafening silence. I was immobilized for that moment, and then people were calling me from my colleagues who we had left at the hotel, were calling me, asking me what the explosion was all about. And I could not answer. I was just saying, screaming, they have killed the MP. So fortunately, the MP was hearing what I was saying, and he called me out to me and said, I'm not dead, but I'm bleeding out. Find a way to take me to hospital.
Oh.
So I ran to where he was. There were children lying all over, limbs thrown on the floor. And we managed to get the MP and flag down a taxi, which carried him to a nearby hospital called Alamin, where he was given first aid, and then we went to Aga Khan Hospital.
Fantastic.
His leg was badly injured, and bone marrow was oozing out. There was blood all over. Up to today, for a whole year after that, I was really traumatized. I could not sleep well, and even now I have panic attacks because of what happened on that day.
Oh boy, sorry. That's even to listen is very traumatizing. So let me ask a quick follow-up question on that. You know, these people who are already radicalized, the ones who threw the IED, there must have been warning signs, because they come from the community. They are either husbands or brothers. What are the early signs of radicalization? Because if you can be able to have some key sort of indicators or signs, you know, we may be, as communities, be able to prevent more.
Indeed. Actually, there exists a toolkit to be able to empower people to notice when people are changing. This is not something very unique. Even mothers are naturally endowed to notice behavior change in their children. So it's simply following up on past experiences, how other people who have been radicalized have behaved, and using that identikit to be able to understand the warning signs for people who become radicalized. Offhand, I can say one of the steps one of the signs that can show anybody that somebody is being radicalized is self-isolation. Most of the people who become radicalized no longer want to stay within the groups. If they are young people, they don't sit at the comfort base where they used to sit, what we call base. Or they also shift from their homes and go and live outside. A classic case is Egilva Bwire, that young man who moved from Majengo and went and stayed in Umoja and was found with a lot of armaments. So self-isolation is actually a sign of somebody who is going to be radicalized. And
we'll just stop there with that one, and then we will. I'm sure you can avail to us the other steps. Just to keep the juice, so that now the young people we can begin helping the Shujas. So they need to know there's actually signs, and the first sign is what Clive is saying about isolation. I'll quickly turn to Sherin. What are the key drivers? As you work with young people in Kibra, I know you work a lot in PVE. What are the key drivers, would you say, as you look at Kibra?
So when I specifically look at Kibra, one of the key factors that drive young people to violent extremism, I can say, is unemployment. Young people out there are looking for money. They are hustling hard. And so when someone comes with an opportunity to give them 1 million without a thought, they'll go and take in the opportunity. And so unemployment and lack of money is a very major factor and a very major driver, especially in Kibra.
Okay.
Yes.
So unemployment and lack of money.
Lack of money.
Okay.
Yes.
And quickly, just to conclude, Clive, so what would be some key strategies, if you say 2 strategies, that we can employ in Kamukunji and even Kibra to prevent violent extremism?
I would say creating awareness is very important. It's key because most of the recruitment and the recruitees are recruited because of ignorance of probably Islamic text. They don't understand what the preaching they are being told is based on half-truths and falsehoods. So it's key. And anyway, even if you want to tackle any issue, you must start with understanding that issue. What is radicalization? What is violent extremism? So I think a lot of learning sessions for youth to create awareness, a lot of messaging around that issue is very important. It's key.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Secondly, you asked for 2.
Yes.
I would think a lot of activities modeled around empowering youth. Basically, seed funding, youth, ideas, their own ideas, so that they don't see like, look at it like it's being forced on them, they're being spoon-fed. But young people have a lot of innovative ideas. They are naturally talented. So if we put some little money or some little effort towards growing whatever they have, then probably we will be able to move away from this issue of radicalization and avoid many young people from being recruited into VE groups.
Fantastic. So you as a Shujaa, then you need to be a partner. You know, I think youth as partners in this is very critical. Yes, there's a financial empowerment, there's knowledge, what Clive has said, the activities that we can be able to do, but the change must really start with you. And our focus to empower you so that you be the change you desire to see. So thank you so much, Clive. Thank you so much, Ariel. So back to you, Gibson, in terms of further, some more questions, some more engagement, just to hear what are the Shujaas saying out there?
Yeah, great. So, wow, overwhelming, if I can use one word. So many comments coming in, questions, answers as well. Let me see who I can pick first on quickly. There's Mohammed Kia, the question about what are the key drivers. He's saying the key driver is religion, politics, peer pressure, and other influence that one gets around them. Thank you so much, Kia, for that. That's from Mombasa. There is Lillian Hendricks, says drivers of violent extremism are social marginalization, government repression, idleness, racial and cultural profiling, cultural threats, etc. Thank you so much for that. Let me see. Can see Eric Ngei saying the drivers are marginalization and discrimination. And then there is Becklin, John, lack of identity and perception of injustice. All right, thank you. Let me see, let me pick for the other. There is Leonida Ayuma Malindo saying some of the drivers to violent extremism include political exclusion, lack of access to justice and resources, very true. And then there is Irene Toto says key drivers are mostly social factors. And then there is Sami who says perception to injustice is also a factor that leads to radicalization. Sami Rugendo, Turkana team. Okay. Let me pick maybe the last 2. And of course, there's a question here that I want to come to. But before then, Bayaya James saying the key drivers are poverty, ignorance, maybe political influence, watching from Wasingishu. Okay. There is Michael who says, I think it begins with a feeling of religion superiority. That is Mike from Meru. And then there's a question here that will be answered by the team that is actually coming in. The question is, and of course, Mike, please take note of this. The question is, what are some of the steps to take when an attack happens for one to be safe? What are some of the steps to take when an attack happens for one to be safe? So I think the security personnel who is coming in will be able to answer that so that at least we are able to go on. Please remember that you need to keep your questions coming. There's what you're getting from the panelists, but do you feel like maybe there are any drivers to radicalization out there that we may be aware of, which have not been discussed? Some of the early warning signs to violent extremism you may be knowing of, maybe you know of a friend or something, please share with us so that we are able to pick a few. Now, as we come to this particular conversation, I want to just clarify that poverty in itself is not a driver. However, poverty makes one vulnerable to radicalization and violent extremism. So that's a clarification. And right now, I want to take it back to the last part of the interview. But remember, throw in your question and your responses, your answer to that. Right now, as we discuss issues to do with some of the safest mechanisms, you can also suggest to us, some of the best strategies you can also suggest to us. So I want to take it back. We have another guest with us, and Mike, you can take it away. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Fantastic questions, and you guys are enjoying yourselves. We are enjoying ourselves here talking about this issue about violent extremism. Now, we have a guest here, and I would like him to introduce himself.
Yes, hi viewers. First of all, let me take this opportunity to thank you for having taken time to be here, so you can share experiences and learn more about violent extremism. Yeah, my name is Chief Inspector Fidel Agai. I'm in charge of operations in Kamkunji Sub-County in Nairobi. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Chief Inspector. It's really good to have you here, and particularly talking about this obviously sensitive issue about radicalization and violent extremism. And so maybe you can just start with the national context. What's going on in that area? What are the issues that as a country we are wrestling with?
Yes, the country, just like most parts of the world, is still grappling with issues of terrorism and violent extremism. But the government has put a lot of strategies that ensure that a lot of this doesn't happen at the scale that it used to happen before. And it seems that the strategies are bearing fruit, because you can see the magnitude in which this issue has reduced so far. I also wish to add that most countries, including Kenya before, used to they focused mostly on the use of militaristic approaches to countering violent extremism and terrorism. But these militaristic approaches have come with inherent limitations, and as well as creating antagonism between the police and the community. And that is what drove the United Nations in 2014 to pass a resolution number 2178 that encourages the use of both militaristic approaches and soft approaches. These soft approaches, for example, includes the community policing initiative, which has really bore a lot of fruits, because we now receive a lot of information on imminent threats to security from a lot of members of the public, particularly the youth, who have harnessed the use of internet and mobile phone platform to inform security agencies on these issues. Yes.
That's good. So it's really good to see that there's been that movement towards soft approaches and broader community engagement towards PVE. So we're very happy about that. So just a question, that keeps coming up that would like to hear your response. You find a lot of people who have been involved with security agencies and in this area. Some of them complain about being profiled, extrajudicial killings, and so forth. There's just some grievances that sometimes perpetuate this issue. What would be your response to that?
Okay. We are left to the fact that we have some rotten eggs, I call them, some police officers, and just like in any profession in the world, we have some rotten police officers, but majority do a good job under very difficult circumstances. But the 2010 Constitution, the Constitution of Kenya, 2010, gave an impetus to police reforms, which is ongoing, and the police reforms in it as in particularly it recommended the change in structure in the architectural structure and command system, but as well as it has also created or established institutions that watch over police excesses. Therefore, these institutions like the the Independent Police Oversight Authority, we also have the Internal Affairs Unit, where grievant people, anybody who's aggrieved, are able to report some of these issues, and they'll be handled.
Yes.
I'm sure the organization I've just mentioned really have handled quite a number of cases.
Yes.
And they continue to do so.
Yes.
We also have an integrated command center for the Nairobi region.
Yes.
And where you can be able to call toll free at using 99, as well as a number which I'll share before I leave.
Yes.
Where somebody can be able to report any cases that he thinks any grievances thereof.
So if as a young person today, I had somebody either who disappeared, or even I suspect there was an issue, extrajudicial killing and so forth, what would I do? What would be my beginning point, and what are the necessary steps that are legal for me to take?
Yes, the number of avenues which such an individual can take, but the one I just mentioned is an organization which is tasked to carry this kind of investigation, and that is the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, which the contacts are available in the webs.
Yes.
In the internet. They have contacts there.
Yes.
So you can be able to report those kind of grievances there.
Yes.
There are mechanisms of addressing it in a comprehensive way.
Okay.
Yes.
So I would then report to IPOA. You'll be getting the number. I think we'll provide the number, so that the person can know how to engage. Yes. So lastly, one question, and this for me, it's something that I've always asked. As I said, when Westgate happens, my whole family was actually in Westgate, my wife and children. She called me from Westgate and she told, there's been an attack and we're here. They were later rescued at 5 p.m. Now, the next attack was at Dusit, which is not very far from here. So, so I have to keep thinking, if there is an attack, what am I supposed to do as a citizen in terms of preparedness? So maybe you can just explain to us, if there's an attack, let's say there's an attack, a shooter in the neighborhood, what then should I do as a citizen?
Okay. Let me just also take this opportunity to say sorry for whatever happened to your family.
Thank you.
Yeah, but you're all victims, because I also had relatives when there was a Westgate attack.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so it happens. This is issues that cuts across.
Yes.
We are the police. You also have brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
Some people may think we cut from stone, and we also feel the effects of all this.
Yes.
Now, there's no well laid down procedure as to how to react to a terrorist attack, for example. But these are issues that are not cut. Are not cut. These are issues that are not cut on stone.
Yes.
But basically, I'll quickly say that what is required is for you to remain calm.
Yes.
In such a situation, avoid unnecessary movement or panic.
Yes.
Because by panic, you're not you're possibly going to make the situation worse.
Yes.
Or possibly getting out into the way of this attacker. So basically, just remain calm.
Yes.
Then, as you think over it, you're settled somewhere.
Yes.
Of course, you have to go low to avoid if there is an explosion, flying objects.
Yes.
Or any other issues. You stay low, remain calm, and seek for help if you have a mobile phone.
Yes.
Yes.
Good. So those are the steps. So the first step is there's gunshots. The first step is be calm, identify where the potential shooter is, so that you don't run into the fire. So be calm, have your senses on, as he said, as the chief inspector said, make your body small, go down on the ground, so that if bullets are flying, you don't become a target. And then once you do that, also look for help. If you've got a mobile phone, inform, obviously, the security agencies, somebody who can be able to help come and support you. And then once you know where the fire is coming from, obviously you want to begin moving in a systematic way to the opposite direction. You don't want to be moving towards where the firepower is. But with that, I hope that's helpful for you as a Shujaa, because that may happen. You never know. As I said, you know, I was having my normal business, and my wife calls me, and they are all stuck, my whole family is stuck in Westgate. I had to go there, and during those 4 hours, I kept replaying in my mind, what should I do? Should I walk into Westgate? I don't have firearm, what do I do? Should I engage the tourist? Because, I mean, you cannot imagine that you can just be standing there, and you're doing nothing, and your family is stuck. So that is something that we all struggle with, and we must prepare for that moment as citizens. So back to Gibson, again for more interaction and to hear what's going on with the audience.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Again, very interesting conversations we have there, quite informed from the security side. And there are 2 questions here that I'll throw back to you, Mike, so that at least we can have our guest sharing in that. There is one who asks, can tribalism be termed as one of the key drivers to radicalization? That is King Oscar asking, can tribalism be termed as one of the key drivers to radicalization? That is one question. And then the other question that goes straight to our Chief Inspector is, kindly ask Chief Inspector where we are as far as confiscation or surrender of the unlicensed firearms are, and of course connecting this in regard to the issue of you know, where the individuals get some of the ammunition. So there is a question from David and Zua who says, kindly ask the Chief Inspector where we are as far as confiscation of or surrender of unlicensed firearms is concerned. I think I'll leave you to discuss those 2 questions, and then I can see whether we have others.
Yes, but Inspector, so tribalism, I suppose that's a big animal in Kenya. And how does that, if any, contribute to radicalization? And then there's a whole question about firearms, and I suppose that's particularly true when you look at the border, because our borders tend to be very porous. How are we doing as far as we keep seeing statements about surrender, amnesty, but are we making progress or not?
Okay, thank you very much. I'll begin with the first question, whether tribalism is also a key driver. To, you know, we have a challenge of presenting a powerful counter narrative to that being peddled by the terrorists. The narrative terrorists peddle is the aim at describing or perceiving, so people can perceive law enforcement agencies in a negative way. 1, and 2 is to perpetrate or to enhance what we call religious and tribal intolerance. This religious and that aspect of it is a narrative that is being peddled by these violent extremists, so that we hate each other based on tribal lines, based on religious lines, and based on many other factors. So yes, tribalism, when you look from that perspective, can be a driver of this particular issue. On issues of firearms, yes, the exercise is ongoing, and yes, we know there is data which I'll refer to later, but concerning what's the progress so far, how many has been mopped up. But this mopping is not an instantaneous issue. It's an ongoing program with its own challenges. But the government is doing its best to ensure that these illegal firearms are mopped from these illegal holders, and the mechanisms in which this is happening. Yes, so to the viewer who just asked that question, I should be assured that the government is doing all it can to mop all those illegal firearms from the hands of either criminals or even those who are holding it legally but are misusing it the same. Yes, so we've made giant steps so far in that regard, and we know sooner or later a lot of this will have been mopped out from illegal holders.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you so much, Ban Inspector. So tribalism does perpetuate also violent extremism to some degree. And it sounds like we're making progress as far as the firearms are concerned. We are not yet there, but there's some progress that's being made. So back to you, Gibson.
Yes, thank you, Mike. Let me pick a few responses here as far as we had asked about some of the early warning signs. A number of individuals here bringing in their responses. I can see Buddy Jr. Violent extremism will be seen in how a person talks. They will like arguing a lot and even using abusive language for petty issues. That's very true. There's one who says that they also go ahead and even change their online identity. Yeah, there's Yvonne Ogala says early warning signs of violent extremism could include cyberbullying, formation of youth criminal gangs. Thank you so much for that. And then I can pick maybe one, two, and then I can pick a question I have here. There's Last King who says among the many reasons of violence is due to high unemployment to the youth. Thank you so much. We have agreed on that. And then Bree says violent extremism can also be caused by lack of knowledge among the youth. They can just do it because others are doing it, you know. Others are joining these particular violent extremism groups, and you know it feels like it's cool. It's cool to join. I think one last question from the old mic to our chief guest is that a number of youth have actually wanted to report some of these particular violent extremism incidents, but then there has been the question in terms of some of them fear going to report, and then instead they are taken in. Being accused of possibly associating with these particular groups. As government or as the security agents, what can you say about that, and what can you assure you so that they can have it easy when it comes to reporting, and they feel safe as far as the reporting of these particular cases is concerned?
Yeah, I think that's a genuine fear, whether valid or not. I suppose many of us, fear that. And I see that many times you can even be driving and there's an accident and you can see somebody lying on the road, and oftentimes people are thinking, now do I report? If I report, I'll end up being in trouble because of that. So what would you respond? What would you respond, Bwana Chief Inspector?
Okay, thank you very much. I wish to allay that fear. That if you come to report, perhaps let me say, if you have issues on imminent threat security, that is issues of maybe of an information on violent extremism. Yeah, the police has mechanisms of if we have mechanisms of reporting, and that includes if at the police station you are able to. There is the office of the officer commanding station. That is usually known as the OCS. Yes, if that is, if you can just request to see him, for example, in person, and and if you feel okay, this person maybe at that level is not able to assist, there are also other offices where you can visit at that particular police station. If it houses the office of the OCPD, for example, you can also talk to them. But what I can assure you is that we dealt with these cases before, and those who've reported. They are assured of anonymity, and we also have the witness protection unit, which they should be aware is there, which, if necessary, is able to protect you as a witness. If you feel your life is threatened, or you're not okay with the procedures, I mean, if you're not very comfortable.
Yes.
Yeah. So all these mechanisms are there. They should if you come to report, nobody is there to victimize you. After all, you become now a vital instrument for the state, because you're giving vital information, and that's what we encourage members of the public to do.
Yes.
Yes, it's and that is the core credo of. That's the core tenet of the national strategy on countering violent extremism. Yes. Encouraging members of the community to report. So we as the police cannot victimize you on the and yet we rely on the members of the community to give us most of the information we use.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, great. That's very encouraging to hear that actually police are relying on the community to be able to report. So really victimizing the community goes counterproductive to what they're trying to achieve. But you also given us a tip Look for the OCS, the OCPD. I assume those are the most senior individuals in a police station. If you're afraid, and oftentimes obviously they'll be listen to you and engage you in terms of how you can be able to partner together. So I think for me the take-home message is that if you're going to address this issue of prevention of violent extremism, several things. One, as a country, this is an important issue to be addressed. You know, because it affects our ability to trade. If people feel insecure when they're coming as either tourism or coming as business partners, they will not come to a community where they feel unsafe. So as a nation, for us to be prosperous, we need to be able to address this issue about violent extremism. But the key to this is the youth. Either way, the youth will be the perpetrators, but they can be your best ally and partner towards prevention of violent extremism. In fact, if I was radicalizing in individuals, it is the youth obviously I would target to be able to radicalize them. So you as a young person, and you know all the nations that have been successful in this, including Israel, they have seen it very important to train young people to be able to be in the military. I went through the National Youth Service myself, and I think that was a very good vision for the country to be able to train its young people to be also part and parcel of security agencies to be able to prevent radicalization. So as a Shuja, we are looking to you to engage and to be at the forefront of both identifying and preventing and reporting violent extremism, so that as a country we can all be able to stay safe. We want to stay safe from corona, but we also want to stay safe from radicals, and the solution is really in your hands as a Shuja. So I thank you very much for joining us today, and I hope this has been a very useful session for you as a Shuja. And think about your community, your sub-county, your county. What are you going to do about it? It's not just the government. It is each one of us lending hand and engaging so that we can be able to prevent radicalization in this country and so that we can become a prosperous nation. Thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you next Thursday.
Thank you so much, Mike, for those amazing 3 set of interviews, quite informing here. I'll pick the last reactions from the group. They are saying, I can see Mariam Omar saying, educative session, keep it up. There is Faria saying, thanks, Chief Inspector, for enlightening us on the steps on how to react to an attack. I think I can pick the last 2. There is Tom Juma saying, this knowledge really needs to be taken down to mashinani. Okay, thank you so much. And of course, definitely, we will be able to do that. And then the final one I can take is that there is Chinyere Amaka saying, very powerful discussion going on. Hope our young people can be able to make independent decisions and not be influenced by religion or politics. We need to go further and ensure those youth who are in rural areas have knowledge on violent extremism and have the necessary information to keep them or to help them make a good decision. Thank you so much, everyone, for all your messages coming in, questions and all that. Please, remember, still keep on having conversation with us. Throw in your comments there, your questions. We'll be able to look at them and respond to that. But of importance, it is everyone's responsibility to prevent violent extremism. As we have seen from the Watuwote short film, we do not need to profile any religion. We do not need to profile any tribe. We do not need to profile anyone. If we all work in unity, we can be able to defeat all these particular ideologies, and end of the day, we'll emerge the winners and we'll live a violent extremist free country. Now, the last thing that I want to mention to you is that there is a similar discussion that will be happening tomorrow, and that will be happening on one of our platform, that is Jiongoze, will be led by, of course, DocuBox, that is from 12 p.m. to around 1 p.m. Please ensure that you have tuned in onto that. We'll be sharing the details, and then you can have more discussions around Watuwote and the whole issue of PVE. Otherwise, from us, we have been your host, Engineer Mike Mutungi, and I've been the co-host, Gibson Moita. Until next time, thank you so much and have a good afternoon.